And now, in studio, bringing his Midwest values from the Show Me State to the land of San Diego. He's a triple threat, licensed as an attorney, mortgage broker, and a top producing realtor who's crushing the competition. Here to deliver you what's happening in the trenches of the market. Your host, Michael Gaddis.
Welcome to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. And as always, I am here every Monday night at 7 p.m. to talk about anything and everything related to real estate, sometimes tangentially related to real estate. And that's the case especially in our first segment. In my first segment today, I have Robert Kenyon in studio, who is the president of First Cabin Travel. And he's been on the show before, but he's going to come in today and tell us some interesting things about the travel industry. So thank you for coming down, Robert.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to be back. And I have some interesting stories if you'd like to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, about a month ago, I sent over former mayor of Beverly Hills, Marilee Goldman, a couple of friends, and she went over to China. They're actually on a 34-day trip. So they left off, and part of that trip was on the Yangtze River. And I love to tell these stories because this is what can happen when you're out into a foreign country, actually out in the outback. And they're on the Yangtze, they're on a boat, and they're leaving from a place called Yijiang, and they're going up to Chongqing. And from Chongqing, they were going to another place called Dunhuang. Most people probably haven't heard of all those names, but those are some fascinating regions in China. So these days, it's so much easier to be in touch with people because of the ability to communicate by text. So I received a text that was about evening hours my time, and I actually got it from Beijing, from my contact in Beijing. And the word was that the boat that was going up to Chongqing, they had a low water level, they couldn't get up there, so they had to get off at a place called Fengdu. And that presented a problem because they were to go to Chongqing, board an aircraft, and go over to Dunhuang. If they didn't get there as they were scheduled to arrive, they were going to be late for the plane. It's going to throw the whole program off. So the boat captain planned to have a coach meet the entire boat and all the folks on it, and they had just a limited number of coaches. And so I received a text from Beijing, and I understand now that I've got a time element here to get these folks on the plane. So Beijing now at 11 p.m. at night from its private home, he and I are communicating, which is an incredible event because it's often that you can only get people from Monday through Friday in the office to be able to get some communication going. He and I are friends. He gets back to me and he says, what we can do is we'll get a private car, a private driver, we'll send him down to Fengdu. It'll take about 3.5 hours to get there. We'll turn it around, we'll get it back up to Chongqing, and we'll get him on over to Dunhuang. And that's the kind of service I think that one should look for when they're going out to those regions.
Well, there's a couple fascinating things I think you said there. Number one, 34-day trip. Wow.
Not only wow to that, but let's see, her traveling companion is 84.
Oh, no kidding.
So the bucket list can extend. You don't have to worry about the bucket list being cut short, I think. And they're great travelers because they do keep in touch with me back and forth. Not only are they going on the Yangtze, which they've already accomplished, they just came out of Tibet. They went into Tibet. Not only did they go to Lhasa, which is the capital of Tibet, we sent them out to Gaddis, which is another 6.5-hour drive over a 14,000-foot pass. And it's an exciting area because if you're really interested in old China, which you can hardly find these days, you know, Shanghai, Beijing, it might as well be Paris because of all the shops that have come in. But if you get out to Tibet and you go out to Gaddis, it is an area that even the Red Guard back in the 60s did not get to destroy part of that culture. So you're really seeing old China, which is a very hard commodity these days.
Well, you know, a lot of people, you specialize in luxury travel. That's pretty much what you do, and at very affordable prices at that. But I think one of the things that makes you special, and I mentioned this in previous shows, is the amount that you have traveled. Why don't you tell everyone how many countries you have traveled to in your lifetime?
Well, I started back in 1963 and went into Southeast Asia. It became a passion for me to travel. And so I decided, because of that passion, to follow that dream. And over the years, I've visited now 172 countries.
172 countries. How many countries are there in the world?
It's an interesting question because The United Nations does not recognize Taiwan. China has enough influence in the world today that they said that's a province of ours. You don't call Taiwan a country. So let's call it a country. If you call Taiwan a country, we have 196 countries in the world.
So you have been to a high percentage of those. So with the people that you send, that you help coordinate their trips, you've been to all of these countries. You've been to these places you're sending them. Is that correct?
There's not a place I haven't been that I send people to. On a rare occasion, we might send them. For instance, China is an excellent example because they keep opening up new spots. It used to be a very restricted country to travel, as is Burma. And by the way, Marilee Goldman, who's on the trip coming out of Tibet now, she just went into Myanmar, Burma. So they're not only doing China, they're doing Burma on that trip. And beyond that, when they go into Burma, we're sending them up near Kalau, and it's up in the what they call Upper Burma. They're going to do a trek through some villages that most tourists will never have seen because it's an out-of-the-way district, and they're going to stay a night and then overnight in a village and a monastery. This is how adventurous these guys are. I really love it.
No, what I think is amazing too about the story you told at the start of the segment, and even previous stories, is the customer service that you bring in during the trip. I mean, it's not like you book these people trips, send them off, and then you're done with them. You're like their voice on, their eyes and ears on the ground here in the States for them. And if they run into any kind of difficulty whatsoever, it seems you're always available for them.
I have their itinerary on my desk. I flip the pages every day as they travel. We also had a couple of other instances. We had a plane cancellation, the flight cancellation. We had to change that around. But my contacts with Beijing, my contacts with New Delhi, my contacts with Africa, instantaneous. So I can get right on it's either Skype, it's email, even telephone, and we get it corrected, if it need be corrected. Most of the trips when we go out, we've got it almost ironclad, because my ground operators know what I expect. Been at it for 27 years, and they give that to my clientele.
Well, I think another aspect that I heard in the story is the 84-year-old woman. And a lot of what I do in my business, I deal a lot with reverse mortgages and the senior community. And the number one regret that I hear from people, the number one regret, is that they didn't travel more, that they didn't take advantage of those opportunities while they could, and that now, when they're in their upper age, it's hard for them to travel because they're not physically able to do it quite as well. And so, I guess the piece of advice that I receive from all of them is, don't put off for the future what you can do now. Wouldn't you say that's a great thing to do?
Well, I think dollar spent travel is your best value. Just incredible, because you take those experiences back with you, and they're lifelong experiences.
Well, I told you in a previous show, I don't collect items. I don't collect baseball cards. I don't collect, little shot glasses. What I collect are life experiences. That's what I collect, because that's what I can take with me when I'm an old person. That's what it's going to be all about. Now, tell me a little bit more about First Cabin. So, what the email address is firstcabin.com. Is that what it is?
The email address is
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Is FC First Cabin, just the letters FC@firstcabin.com, and our website is firstcabin.com. You can go on the website. You can see a video that describes all of our touring and how we do it, and we have all of our tours listed on the website. But more importantly, or as importantly, I should say, we can do modular tours. So if you see an itinerary on the website and you like it, or there are some things because of the length of the trip, or because it's too short for you, whatever it is, we do a modular itinerary, and it's very easy to accomplish.
Well, give us an example of how much it would cost. How much does it cost to travel? I know you specialize like in Southeast Asia, you specialize in Africa, but let's say I wanted to go to, Southeast Asia, and I wanted to go and, visit several countries over there. What does it cost, and what would I need to do?
My best advice when people are looking at a particular trip, first of all, you have to do apples to apples. That's the most important thing. So you get two companies that you like, and I encourage people to go out and shop around. But get companies that you can read from either their intermail or call them up and talk with them. Better yet, ask for some folks who have traveled with them. You call me today and I'll give you 6 names of people you can be in touch with who have traveled the last 6 months, and they'll rave about First Cabin. So then what you do is you take a look at the itinerary. Try and get as close to an itinerary as you can matched up. I'm just doing this now for a doctor here locally, and I'm giving him an itinerary operated by another it's a great company, and it's a high-end company. And I've given him my itinerary. And it's private car, private driver, private guide, breakfast and lunch daily, and it's X amount of days. So then you take the total amount of cost and you divide it by the number of days, and that gives you an idea of where your costs are. The cost for their program is $760 per day per person. My cost for an identical program, I like to think even better, is $314.
Wow.
So it's about 50%. And I'm telling you, you're going to get exactly the same kind of service, if not better. So it's an incredible quality only because, well, not only because, but one of the reasons because I've done it for 27 years. I have all of the friends overseas. As I mentioned in Beijing, he's in his private home communicating if we have a problem. So those kinds of things come back to help me support my clientele.
Now, we were talking before about the seventh wonder in the world. I can't remember the name in Cambodia. What is it?
Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat. And you were mentioning, this is, I just want to tell a little bit about what I think is fascinating about you. We were talking about, I told you that that's one of the places I wanted to go in my life. And you said, well, if you go there, you need to go there on this day or this day, because if you don't, why don't you go ahead and tell us, because I think this is fascinating.
Well, what has happened in Southeast Asia, Cambodia is a hot spot for all over the world, but in Southeast Asia now you have Chinese who are not only middle class, upper middle class billionaires. They're traveling more now than ever before. You have the South Koreans traveling, Taiwanese traveling, Singaporeans traveling, Thais are traveling. Angkor Wat is in Cambodia. So now they're doing weekend junkets. So they're bringing jets in for the weekend, and they're coming into Angkor Wat and walking through the ruins. If you go there on a Saturday or Sunday, it is going to be inundated with tourists. When you're making this trip, be it by yourself, which I would not necessarily recommend, or through an agency, be sure when they do your itinerary, they avoid a Saturday or Sunday in Angkor Wat. You'll be disappointed. Too many people.
And that's why you are, and here's my new favorite word, the quintessential travel expert. Robert, I want to thank you for coming on our show today.
It's always a pleasure, Michael. Thank you.
And for all of you out there who don't want to wait until the last minute, till later on in life, you want to try to enjoy life while you can, firstcabin.com. That's firstcabin.com. After the break, we're going to jump into reverse mortgages with Monica Caraballo. You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.